The massive space station hung in the darkness like a silver crown. It orbited a neutron star that spun so fast it looked like a bright, angry dot. This was the Galactic Council's home, a place where the most powerful beings in the galaxy met to decide the future of countless worlds. Ambassador Sarah Chen looked out the small window of her ship. Her reflection stared back at her, showing a woman in her late 40s with tired eyes and gray streaks in her black hair. Behind her, 3 other humans checked their equipment one more time. They were nervous. They had every right to be. Their ship was old, converted from a mining vessel that had once hauled asteroids. It shook and rattled as they approached the docking bay. Sarah could hear the other species' ships humming smoothly past them, their advanced engines making almost no sound at all. Each of those ships was worth more than Earth's entire space program. Earth had only invented faster-than-light travel 3 months ago. They had found a crashed alien probe in the Pacific Ocean and spent 2 years figuring out how it worked. When they finally built their own jump drive, humanity had celebrated for days. But the celebration ended quickly when the message came. The Zarthic Empire wanted to talk. The docking clamps grabbed their ship with a loud bang. Sarah picked up her briefcase, the only piece of old Earth technology she had brought. Inside were papers printed on actual paper, with Earth's response to the Empire's demands. She had argued for bringing a digital tablet, but the president had insisted. "Let them see we still value the permanent, the physical," he had said. The airlock opened with a hiss. The air that rushed in smelled strange, like metal and flowers mixed together. Sarah stepped into a corridor that stretched so far she could not see the end. The walls glowed with a soft blue light. Aliens of every shape and size walked past, some with legs, some floating, some slithering. They all stopped to stare at the humans. A tall, thin creature with 4 arms approached them. Its skin was pale yellow and it had no visible mouth. When it spoke, the words came from a small device hanging around its neck. "Ambassador Chen, I am Guide Rill, follow me to the council chamber." They walked for what felt like forever. Other aliens whispered as they passed. Sarah heard laughter, soft and mocking. She kept her face calm, showing nothing. The council chamber was enormous. It looked like a sports stadium. But instead of seats for fans, there were platforms floating at different heights. Each platform held representatives from different alien species. Sarah counted 70 different groups, each one more strange and wonderful than the last. At the highest platform sat Emperor Vortex 9. He was massive, easily 3 times the size of a human, with dark blue skin covered in what looked like stars. They actually glowed and moved across his body. His eyes were completely black, like looking into deep space. Below him sat his war marshal, a being called Shard. Sarah had read the briefing about him. He was made of some kind of living crystal that could change shape. Right now he looked like a man made of sharp red glass. Guide Rill led them to a small platform near the bottom. It was the lowest position in the room. Sarah understood the message. Earth was beneath everyone else. Emperor Vortex's voice filled the chamber. It did not come from his mouth but seemed to exist everywhere at once, translated instantly into every language. "The human delegation has arrived. Let the terms be stated clearly." War Marshal Shard stood. His crystal body caught the light and threw rainbows across the room. "The species called humanity has achieved faster-than-light travel. According to galactic law, they must now join the community of spacefaring races. The Zarthic Empire extends its protection to Earth." He paused, and his next words were sharp as knives. "In exchange for this protection, humanity must surrender all FTL technology to Imperial control. Earth will accept an Imperial governor. Earth will provide 40% of all resources as tribute. These terms are standard and have been accepted by every species that came before you." Sarah felt her heart pound. She had known the terms, had read them 100 times, but hearing them spoken out loud made them real. "Failure to accept these terms," Shard continued, "will result in compliance enforcement. We will take what is needed by force. We will establish order. Resistance will be met with appropriate response." Another alien stood up, this one looking like a giant caterpillar with dozens of small legs. "If I may, War Marshal, what appropriate response do you suggest for a species with 12 ships? Surely they cannot resist?" Laughter rippled through the chamber. It was not cruel, but it was not kind either. It was the laughter of adults watching a child claim they could lift a car. Emperor Vortex raised one massive hand. The laughter stopped immediately. "Ambassador Chen, you have heard the terms. What is Earth's response?" Sarah stood. Her legs were shaky, but she forced them to be still. She looked up at the Emperor, at War Marshal Shard, at the 70 species gathered to watch humanity bend the knee. "Your Majesty," she said, her voice steady, "I request permission to address both the Empire and the Council. I wish to deliver Earth's official response." Whispers filled the chamber. No one expected this. New species always asked for time, for mercy, for better terms. They did not ask to make speeches. War Marshal Shard's crystal body flashed red. "This is highly irregular. New species do not—" "I allow it," Emperor Vortex interrupted. His voice carried amusement. "Let the humans speak. It will be interesting to hear what they have to say." Sarah opened her briefcase and took out a single sheet of paper. Her hands did not shake now. She had practiced this moment for weeks. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I will be brief." She looked around the chamber, meeting as many eyes as she could. "The people of Earth have considered the Empire's terms carefully. We have discussed them with our leaders, our scientists, and our citizens. We have thought about what it would mean for our future, for our children, for our right to exist as a free people." She took a breath. "And we have decided respectfully to decline." The chamber went completely silent. It was as if someone had turned off all sound in the universe. Even the floating platform stopped moving. "We will not surrender our technology," Sarah continued. "We will not accept a foreign governor. We will not pay tribute for the right to live on our own world. Earth has fought too hard, survived too much to give up our freedom now." War Marshal Shard recovered first. "You refuse?" His voice cracked like breaking glass. "Do you understand what you are saying?" "I understand perfectly, War Marshal." "Then you are fools." Shard gestured and a hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed the Imperial fleet. 10,000 warships, each one the size of a small moon. Weapons that could burn planets. Shields that could withstand stars exploding. Next to this, Shard showed Earth's fleet. 12 tiny ships. No shields. Weapons that were basically just very fast bullets. "This is the Empire's might," Shard said. "And this is yours. You cannot win. You cannot even fight. By what possible logic do you think you can refuse us?" Sarah looked at the hologram. She looked at Earth's pathetic little ships. Then she looked back at Shard and smiled. It was not a happy smile. "You are absolutely right, War Marshal. We cannot beat you in a normal war. Your technology is hundreds of years ahead of ours. Your ships are bigger. Your weapons are stronger. In a fair fight, we would lose in minutes." "Then why—" "Because we are not offering you a fair fight," Sarah said quietly. "We are offering you a choice. Leave us alone or find out what happens when you corner an animal with nothing left to lose." Emperor Vortex leaned forward. "Are you threatening us with suicide attacks?" "No, Your Majesty." Sarah's voice was calm, almost gentle. "We are telling you that Earth has survived ice ages, asteroid strikes, plagues, and world wars. We have fought enemies we could not see, enemies inside our own bodies, enemies in our own minds. We have learned to be very, very good at surviving." She closed her briefcase. "So here is Earth's answer. We say no. And if you force this issue, you will learn exactly why humans are still alive after millions of years of everything trying to kill us." The silence that followed was different now. It was not shocked. It was calculating. Every species in that room was thinking the same thing. Are these humans brave or just stupid? Emperor Vortex studied Sarah for a long moment. Then he laughed, a sound like thunder rolling across mountains. "I grant you one standard galactic week to reconsider. Think carefully, Ambassador. The Empire is not cruel, but we are not patient either." "1 week," Sarah agreed. "That is all we need." As the human delegation left the chamber, Sarah sent a coded message back to Earth. Just 3 words. They took the bait. Sarah Chen stood alone on the platform. The council chamber was even more crowded than before. Word had spread across the galaxy that the humans were about to give their final answer. Species from every corner of known space had sent representatives to watch. Some came out of curiosity. Others came to witness what they thought would be humanity's surrender. The week had passed quickly. Sarah had spent it in a small room aboard the station, receiving constant messages from Earth. Plans were confirmed. Resources were moved into place. Scientists worked day and night, and through it all the galaxy watched and waited. The other species treated the humans differently now. Some were nicer, offering food and expressing regret that Earth had to face this. Others were colder, as if the humans were already dead and talking to them was a waste of time. A few were actively hostile, calling them arrogant children who needed to learn their place. Sarah had expected all of this. The psychological profile teams on Earth had predicted every reaction. Humans had spent thousands of years studying each other, learning how people thought, how they made decisions, how they reacted under pressure. Now they were using that knowledge against an entire galaxy. Emperor Vortex spoke first. His voice was gentler than before, almost kind. Ambassador Chen, the week has ended. Has Earth reconsidered its position? Sarah activated her communication device. Her image appeared on screens throughout the chamber, magnified so everyone could see her face clearly. She wanted them to see her eyes when she said this. Your Majesty, members of the Council, representatives of the galactic community. Her voice was steady. I come before you today to deliver Earth's final answer to the Empire's demands. She paused, letting the tension build. Every eye in the chamber was on her. The people of Earth, speaking through their elected leaders and their citizens, respectfully declined the Empire's terms. We will not surrender our sovereignty. We will not accept foreign rule. We will not become subjects of any empire, no matter how powerful. The whispers started immediately, but Sarah kept talking. I want to be very clear about this. We understand the Empire's position. We understand galactic law. We have studied the history of every species that came before us. We know that every single one accepted these terms. We know that resistance has never succeeded. War Marshal Shard stood up, his crystal body flashing angry red. Then why do you persist in this foolishness? Do you think you are special? Do you think you are stronger than the warrior races who submitted? Smarter than the ancient civilizations that chose peace? No, War Marshal, Sarah replied calmly. We do not think we are stronger or smarter. We think we are different. Different how? Sarah pulled up a hologram of Earth. The blue and green planet rotated slowly, beautiful and fragile. Every species here came from worlds that were, by galactic standards, relatively safe. Your planets had stable climates. Your evolution was steady and predictable. You developed intelligence, built civilizations, and eventually reached the stars. She changed the hologram. Now it showed Earth's history. Geological time compressed into seconds. Ice ages came and went. Asteroids struck. Supervolcanoes erupted. Mass extinctions happened over and over. Earth is a death world, Sarah said simply. Our planet has tried to kill us since the moment our species appeared. The dinosaurs ruled Earth for millions of years, and one asteroid ended them. That could have been us. It almost was us many times. She showed human history now. Cave paintings, ancient wars, plagues that killed millions. The Black Death, Spanish flu, world wars. We have fought everything, Sarah continued. Ice ages that froze most of the planet. Diseases that spread invisibly through the air. Predators that hunted us in the dark. And when we ran out of external enemies, we fought each other. We built weapons that could destroy our entire world, pointed them at each other, and somehow chose not to use them. A floating creature that looked like a jellyfish spoke up, its voice bubbling through translation. We are aware of your violent history, Ambassador. It is not something to be proud of. It shows you are a dangerous and unstable species. You are absolutely right, Sarah agreed, surprising everyone. We are dangerous. We are unstable. We are a species that learned to split atoms just so we could make bigger bombs. We created diseases in laboratories to study how to defend against them. We put chemicals in the air and water and nearly poisoned ourselves. We are, by any reasonable standard, completely insane. Emperor Vortex's eyes narrowed. And you believe this insanity will help you against the Empire? No, Your Majesty. I believe our insanity is exactly why you should leave us alone. Sarah brought up a new image. It showed human DNA. The double helix rotating slowly. Every species here evolved naturally. Your genetics are clean, optimized by millions of years of selection. But humans, we are a mess. Our DNA is full of old viruses, genetic leftovers, mutations that should have killed us. We should not exist. By every law of evolution, we should have died out. But we did not die. We adapted. We changed. We survived things that would have ended any other species. And in doing so, we learned something that I think the galaxy has forgotten. And what is that? War Marshal Shard asked, his voice dripping with scorn. How to fight an enemy that is bigger and stronger than you. Sarah let that sink in for a moment. You see, War Marshal, humans spent most of our history being the weak ones. We were not the strongest predators. We were not the fastest. We did not have claws or fangs or armor. Lions were stronger. Cheetahs were faster. Bears had claws. So how did we become the dominant species on our planet? She answered her own question. We learned to cheat. We learned to use tools. We learned to set traps. We learned to poison our enemies. We learned that if you cannot win with strength, you win with intelligence. And if you cannot win with intelligence, you win with patience. And if you cannot win with patience, you win by making the cost of victory so high that your enemy decides it is not worth it. The chamber was silent now. Everyone was listening. The Empire has 10,000 warships. We have 12. You can destroy Earth from orbit. We know this. You expect us to surrender because fighting back would be suicide. Sarah's expression hardened. But you are thinking about this wrong. You are thinking like a civilized empire that follows rules and laws. You are thinking about clean victories and acceptable losses. You are thinking like someone who has something to lose. Earth has already lost, she continued. If we surrender, we lose our freedom. If we fight and die, we lose everything. So what exactly do you think you can threaten us with? Death, we have faced extinction dozens of times. Destruction? We nearly destroyed ourselves. Pain, suffering, we know these things intimately. War Marshal Shard's voice was quieter now. What are you saying? I am saying that the Empire is thinking about this like a chess game. You have more pieces, better pieces, and you assume you will win. But Earth does not play chess. We play a different game. A game where the losing player can flip the board, where pieces can change sides, where the rules can be rewritten in the middle of the match. Sarah pulled up one final hologram. It showed something small, too small to see with normal eyes. A virus, then a bacteria, then a strand of DNA. You have weapons that can destroy planets. We have weapons that can destroy atoms. You have shields that stop energy blasts. We have weapons that your shields cannot stop because they are not energy or matter in the way you understand it. You think big. We think small. Very, very small. An insect-like alien spoke up, clicking its mandibles nervously. You speak of biological weapons. The Galactic Council banned such weapons 1,000 years ago. They are considered crimes against all life. Yes, Sarah agreed. They are banned. And do you know why? Because they work. Because they are terrifying. Because once released, they cannot be recalled or controlled. Because they turn your own body against you. She looked around the chamber. Earth did not sign your treaty banning biological weapons. We were not part of the galactic community when it was written. And while we have not built such weapons for warfare in decades, we remember how. We remember every plague, every disease, every virus that nearly ended us. And we learned from them. Emperor Vortex stood now, his full height making him tower over everyone else. You threaten us with plague? You would release disease to stop us? I threaten nothing, Your Majesty. I simply state facts. Earth has the knowledge to create biological weapons. We have the delivery systems, thanks to our new FTL drives. And we have the motivation. You are threatening our home? Sarah's voice grew softer, more dangerous. But more importantly, we have something you do not have. We have experience fighting enemies we cannot see. Every human child learns about germs, about bacteria, about viruses. We wash our hands. We sterilize our tools. We created entire fields of science just to fight microscopic enemies. This is normal for us. Can you say the same? When was the last time your species faced a pandemic? When did you last worry about invisible killers? Your medical technology is advanced, yes. But when you have fusion reactors and anti-gravity, do you still remember how to fight something as simple as a modified virus? The chamber erupted in angry voices. Species shouted at each other. Some called Sarah a monster. Others demanded the humans be arrested immediately. The first laugh came from the Herlon delegate, a creature that looked like a massive slug with tiny arms. It was a wheezing, wet sound that echoed through the council chamber. Then another species joined in, then another. Within seconds, the entire chamber erupted in laughter. Sarah Chen stood on her platform and waited. She had expected this. The psychological teams had told her this would happen. Humans understood laughter as a weapon. They had used it against each other for thousands of years. The Killick ambassador, an insect creature with compound eyes and clicking mandibles, laughed so hard it fell over. Other species held their sides, their tentacles, their various body parts that corresponded to a stomach. The laughter rolled through the chamber in waves. Emperor Vortex allowed himself a small smile. Even War Marshal Shard's crystal body pulsed with colors that the translation software labeled as amusement. The Whisper, the oldest member of the council, floated forward. This being had no real body. It was a cloud of gas held together by some kind of energy field. When it spoke, its thoughts came through translation as something between words and feelings. Predator and prey. The Whisper's voice carried amusement like perfume. Oh, Ambassador Chen, You have entertained us greatly. Your species discovered faster than light travel by accident 3 months ago. You have 12 ships that shake when they move. Your weapons are bullets, actual physical bullets, like something from a museum. And you speak of threatening the Zarthic Empire? More laughter. Sarah's 3 companions behind her looked uncomfortable, but she had warned them this would happen. She kept her face neutral, showing nothing. A reptilian species called the Sarnak spoke up, its forked tongue flickering. Perhaps the humans do not understand scale. Let me help them. The Empire has ruled for 1,000 years. They have conquered or absorbed 200 species. Their oldest warship is more advanced than anything humanity has ever built. And these children think they can resist with threats of tiny invisible weapons? The laughter grew louder. Screens throughout the chamber showed comparisons. Imperial technology versus human technology. It was not even close. Human computers were slower. Human engines were weaker. Human materials were primitive. In every measurable way, humanity was hundreds of years behind. One screen showed a human fighter jet next to an Imperial scout ship. The jet looked like a toy. Another showed a human nuclear weapon next to an Imperial planet cracker. The nuke was like a firecracker next to dynamite. War Marshal Shard projected new images into the center of the chamber. They showed Earth's military, tanks that ran on fossil fuels, soldiers that still needed to eat and sleep, missiles that traveled slower than some of the Empire's civilian transports. This, Shard announced, is what threatens the Empire. Soldiers with rifles, ships with chemical rockets, weapons that we stopped using 500 years ago. The laughter reached new heights. Some species were recording this, already thinking about how they would tell the story to others. The day the humans tried to threaten the Empire, it would be a joke told across the galaxy for centuries. On Earth's internet, which was now connected to the Galactic network, the mocking began immediately. Memes appeared within minutes. One showed a human baby shaking its fist at a bodybuilder labeled, "Earth confronts the Empire." Another showed a puppy barking at a lion. A third showed a rowboat next to an aircraft carrier. Galactic comedians built entire shows around the confrontation. One popular bit compared humanity to a species called the Fluffs, small rabbit-like creatures known for being cute and harmless. At least the Fluffs knew they could not fight, the comedian said. Humans are Fluffs who think they are warriors. News networks across the galaxy analyzed Earth's position and found it wanting. Military experts explained, with graphs and charts, exactly how quickly an Imperial fleet could destroy Earth's defenses. The optimistic estimates gave humanity 6 hours. The pessimistic estimates said 2. Scientists broke down the biological weapon threat. Yes, they admitted such weapons were terrifying, but the Empire had medical technology that could counter most diseases. They had shields that could filter air. They had sensors that could detect biological agents. And most importantly, they had experience. The Empire had faced biological attacks before, during the Ban Wars, and had developed complete defenses. Humans think they invented biological warfare, one expert explained on a popular show. They did not. They are simply the last species to realize it does not work against modern defenses. The betting pools exploded across the galaxy. The odds on humanity surrendering within 24 hours were very high. Some bookies offered special bets. Would the humans surrender before or after they saw the Imperial fleet? Would they cry? Would they beg? Would Ambassador Chen apologize for wasting everyone's time? On the council station, other ambassadors approached the human delegation with barely hidden pity. A floating being made of light offered them a small gift. "For your troubles," it said kindly. "I am sorry your species did not have more time to mature before reaching the stars." The Killik ambassador, still chuckling, actually gave Sarah Chen a small toy. It was a laser pointer, the kind used to entertain pets. "For your military," the Killik clicked, mandibles spread in what passed for a smile. "Perhaps this will help." The Killik's delegation found this hilarious. They passed the toy around, aiming the little red dot at walls and floors, laughing every time. Sarah accepted the gift with a polite nod, which only made them laugh harder. Emperor Vortex called for order, but his voice still carried amusement. "The human position has been noted and thoroughly discussed. However, the Empire is not without mercy. We understand that Ambassador Chen speaks from fear, not reason. Fear makes people say foolish things," he gestured grandly. "Therefore I grant humanity more time. Not 1 week, but 3 days. 3 days to reconsider. 3 days to think clearly. We will send a single fleet to the Sol system. Just 50 ships to demonstrate our restraint. When you see them arrive, you will understand the situation better. War Marshal Shard added, and when you surrender, as you will, we will remember that you were new to galactic society. We will be gentle in establishing order. Your species will be treated well as long as you cooperate. Sarah spoke calmly into her communicator. Your Majesty is very generous. We will use these 3 days wisely. See that you do, Emperor Vortex replied. An ambassador? There is no shame in surrender. Every species standing in this chamber today once stood where you stand. They all made the wise choice. We hope you will do the same. The council session ended. As the human delegation prepared to return to their ship, they passed through crowds of aliens. Most ignored them. Some pointed and whispered. A few made sounds that the translation software marked as laughter. One young alien, a student from a species called the Porin, approached Sarah. It had fur like a cat and walked on 6 legs. Ambassador Chen, it said quietly. I am sorry. I wish your species had more time. You seem nice. Sarah smiled at the young alien. Thank you. But do not worry about us. We have been underestimated before. By who? The student asked, genuinely curious. By everything that ever tried to kill us, Sarah replied. And we are still here. The student looked confused but said nothing more. Sarah and her team returned to their ship. Once the airlock sealed and they were alone, one of her companions spoke up. They think we are a joke. Good, Sarah said, sitting down at the communication console. That is exactly what we wanted. Are you sure this will work? Another asked. They have medical technology we cannot even imagine. What if our weapons really do not work against them? Sarah pulled up a classified file on her screen. It showed test results, projections, and probability calculations. All of it was marked with the highest security clearance Earth had. They think we are threatening them with diseases, Sarah said quietly, with modified viruses and engineered plagues. They think they understand what we are planning because they have faced biological weapons before. She looked at her team. They are wrong. What we have created is not a biological weapon. It is something the galaxy has never seen because they were too busy building bigger ships and better shields. They forgot that sometimes the most dangerous weapons are the ones you cannot see or stop. When does Protocol Darwin begin? One of them asked. Sarah checked the chronometer. Earth's ships should be moving into position now. Once the Imperial fleet arrives in 3 days, we will show them what humans really learned from millions of years of survival. She typed a message and encrypted it with codes that would take the Empire's computers years to crack. The message was simple. They are laughing. Proceed with final preparations. Remember, we only get one chance at this. The message was sent. Across the galaxy, beings were still laughing at humanity's threats. They were making jokes, taking bets, creating entertainment from Earth's foolishness. None of them knew that the joke was about to be on them. Back on Earth, in laboratories hidden deep underground, scientists made final checks on their creations. These were not viruses. They were not bacteria. They were something much smaller, much smarter, and much more dangerous. In orbit around Earth, 12 human ships began their final preparations. Each one carried cargo that the Empire's sensors would not recognize as weapons. Why would they? War Marshal Shard stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Imperial Glory. Around him stretched the vast fleet, 50 dreadnoughts, each one capable of destroying a planet. The ships moved through space in perfect formation, their shields glowing softly, their weapons charged and ready. The journey from the Council Station to Earth's solar system took exactly 3 days. Shard spent that time reviewing everything he knew about humanity. He read about their wars, their weapons, their primitive technology. He watched videos of their military exercises. He studied their biology. Nothing he saw worried him. If anything, he felt pity. These humans had so much spirit, so much pride. It was almost sad to break them. Almost. Entering the Sol system, his navigator announced. The ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel with barely a ripple. Imperial technology was smooth, efficient, perfect. Ahead of them, the yellow star called Sol burned bright. Shard's sensors immediately detected the planets: Mercury, Venus, Earth, the blue jewel, Mars, red and dead. And further out, the gas giants, Detecting human vessels, the sensor officer reported. 12 ships arranged in a defensive sphere around Mars. Shard examined the display. The human ships were exactly where intelligence had predicted. They were holding position, not advancing, not retreating. Just waiting. Open communication channel, Shard ordered. His image would appear on every human ship, every screen on Earth, every device that could receive a signal. He wanted them all to see this. Ambassador Chen's face appeared on his screen. She was aboard the lead human ship, a converted freighter that barely qualified as a warship. She looked calm, which Shard found interesting. Most species showed fear at this moment. Ambassador Chen, Shard said, keeping his voice formal. The Imperial fleet has arrived. This is your final opportunity to surrender peacefully. Accept the Empire's terms, and no harm will come to your species. Sarah looked at him for a long moment. Then she smiled. It was a small smile, sad almost. War Marshal Shard, we tried to warn you. We asked you to leave us alone. We explained that this would not end well for anyone. Your threats are as empty as your cargo holds, human. Surrender now, or be... Shard never finished that sentence. Every human ship exploded simultaneously, not malfunctioned, not destroyed by weapons. They detonated themselves, blooming into spheres of fire and debris. Shard's crystal body flashed in surprise. What? Then his sensors went insane. Every alarm on every ship in the fleet started screaming at once. But they were not detecting weapons. They were not detecting missiles or energy blasts or anything that the ship's defenses were designed to stop. They were detecting something else, something that should not have been there. From each exploding human ship, a cloud emerged. But it was not smoke or gas. It was something far too small for the normal sensors to see clearly. Billions upon billions of tiny machines, each one smaller than a grain of sand, spreading through space like a swarm. What is that? Shard demanded. What did they release? His science officer, a being with 6 eyes and multiple brains, studied the readings. Sir, they are machines, microscopic machines, nanobots, I think the humans call them. But our shields should stop. The officer stopped talking because the shields did not stop them, could not stop them. The Imperial shields were designed to repel energy weapons, kinetic projectiles, and electromagnetic pulses. They were perfect defenses against conventional warfare. But these tiny machines were not conventional. They were so small that they flowed through the shield's energy fields like water through a net. The shields could not even detect them as threats. Within seconds, the machines had reached the fleet. Within minutes, they had infiltrated every ship. They flowed through microscopic gaps in the hull. They entered through air vents. They were everywhere, inside everything. Shard tried to activate countermeasures, but what countermeasures work against an enemy you cannot see? He tried to purge the air systems. The machines were not in the air. They were in the walls. He tried to heat the ships to destroy them. The machines simply moved to cooler areas and waited. Then the real horror began. Shard's crystal body began to itch. That was impossible. His species did not have nerves the way humans did. They did not feel physical sensations like itching. Yet there it was, a crawling feeling across his surface. On the communication channels, other captains were reporting similar problems. The Hurlon captain's voice was panicked. Something is affecting my crew. They are experiencing pain in areas they should not have. Our medical sensors detect no problems, but they are suffering. A Sarnak captain reported next. My ship's temperature controls are failing. We are getting too cold. My crew is going into hibernation state. Another ship. Life support is compromised. Oxygen levels dropping. Another. Navigation systems offline. Weapons offline. Shields offline. Shard realized what was happening. The machines were not attacking random systems. They were identifying each species aboard each ship and attacking their specific weaknesses. They were customized, intelligent, targeted. For the Hurlon, who breathed methane, the machines were altering the air mixture. For the Sarnak, who needed heat, they were sabotaging environmental controls. For the crystalline species like Shard, They were causing vibrations at frequencies that interfered with their structure, and it was getting worse. Much worse. Sarah Chen's voice came through every communication channel. She was broadcasting to the entire fleet. War Marshal Shard, I told you that humans have been fighting invisible enemies for our entire existence. Did you think we were exaggerating? Shard tried to respond, but his communication systems were failing. Sarah continued anyway. For millions of years, humanity has fought battles you cannot imagine. We have fought enemies smaller than your sensors can detect. Bacteria that can kill in hours. Viruses that spread through the air. Parasites that eat you from inside. We have studied these enemies. We have learned from them. We have weaponized everything we learned. On his screens, Shard could see the machines now. His ship's most powerful microscopes showed them clearly. They were tiny robots, each one a masterpiece of engineering. And they were doing something that chilled him to his core. They were building more of themselves, using materials from his ships, using the very atoms of the Imperial fleet to create more weapons. What you are experiencing right now is just a demonstration, Sarah said. A warning. Those machines can be programmed to do much worse than cause discomfort. They can disassemble your ships at the molecular level. They can rewrite your DNA. They can turn your own bodies against you. They can do things I will not describe because even humans consider them too horrific. Shard's weapons officer managed to get one system back online. Sir, attempting to target human, but there is nothing to target. The human ships are destroyed. And I cannot target the machines, they are too small, too numerous. Sarah's voice was calm, almost gentle, which somehow made it more terrifying. You built bigger and bigger ships. You built stronger and stronger shields. You built weapons that could destroy planets. And while you were looking up at the stars building your massive war machines, we were looking down at the atoms. A new screen appeared, showing technical data. Shard's science officer gasped. Sir, this is data from our own ships, schematics, shield frequencies, weapons systems, navigation codes, everything. How did they? The machines, the officer said weakly. They transmitted it. To Earth, we have been completely compromised. Sarah continued her broadcast. Right now, Earth has complete technical specifications for every ship in your fleet. We know how your shields work. We know how your weapons function. We know how your faster-than-light drives operate. 40,000 years of Imperial technology, downloaded in minutes. She paused. But more importantly, we know how to kill every species aboard those ships. The machines have analyzed your biology. They have identified your weaknesses. They have determined the most efficient ways to harm you. Shard felt something new, something he had not felt in centuries of warfare. Fear. This is why we told you not to corner us, War Marshal. Humans have been fighting enemies we cannot see for our entire existence. We created antibiotics to fight bacteria. We invented vaccines to fight viruses. We developed antiviral drugs, antifungals, antiparasitics. We have entire branches of science dedicated to fighting microscopic enemies. Sarah's image appeared on every screen now. She looked tired but determined. Do you have that? Does the Empire have scientists who specialize in fighting nanoscale threats? Do you have protocols for dealing with self-replicating machines that can be programmed to target specific DNA? Do you even have defenses against enemies smaller than your smallest sensors can detect? The silence from the fleet told her everything she needed to know. You do not, Sarah said quietly. Why would you? When you have fusion reactors and anti-gravity and shields that stop planet killers, why would you worry about something as primitive as disease, as microscopic machines? You evolved past those concerns. You left them behind. She leaned forward. But humans never left them behind. We still worry about the flu. We still get food poisoning. We still have to wash our hands because if we do not, tiny things we cannot see will kill us. This is normal for us. This is everyday life. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was the most heavily attended meeting in recorded history. Every species that had laughed at humanity 3 weeks ago was now present. But no one was laughing anymore. The council chamber was silent as War Marshal Shard gave his report. His crystal body was different now, duller with cracks that had not been there before. The nanomachines had damaged him in ways that Imperial medicine could not completely repair. The fleet retreated after 48 hours, Shard said, his voice lacking its usual confidence. We had no choice. Every system was compromised. Every defense was breached. We were completely helpless against weapons we could not even see. He displayed recordings from the incident. The council members watched in horror as the invisible swarm infiltrated the Imperial ships. They saw the chaos that followed. They heard the panic in the voices of experienced captains who had never known fear before. Emperor Vortex spoke, and his voice carried a weight that made everyone listen. The Empire's bio-warfare specialists have completed their analysis. They have studied the human nanomachines extensively. Their findings are disturbing. A Hurlon scientist shuffled forward. It looked smaller than usual, as if the experience had diminished it somehow. The machines we encountered were primitive, the scientist said, and several species gasped. By galactic standards, their design is centuries behind our own nanotechnology. They are inefficient. They are crude. They require constant power that they harvest from their environment. They are, in every measurable way, inferior to what we could build. The chamber erupted in confused whispers. If the machines were primitive, how had they defeated the Empire? The scientist continued. But that is what makes them so terrifying. These were the humans' first generation of weaponized nanomachines. They built these devices with technology that is centuries old by our standards, and despite their primitive nature, they completely neutralized our most advanced warships. The whisper floated forward, their gaseous form swirling with troubled colors. Explain what you mean. What I mean, the scientist said slowly, is that if humans can create such devastation with primitive technology, what will they create with advanced technology? What happens when they have access to galactic resources? When they learn from our science? When they improve their designs? The silence that followed was heavy with implications. Another scientist spoke, this one from a silicon-based species. We also discovered something else. The human nanomachines were programmed with detailed information about every species in the Imperial fleet. They knew our biology, our weaknesses, our vulnerabilities. How did humans acquire this information? They only achieved faster-than-light travel 3 months ago. Ambassador Sarah Chen, standing on her platform, answered calmly. We asked nicely. We sent diplomatic missions to dozens of species over the past 3 months. We said we wanted to establish cultural exchanges, medical cooperation, scientific partnerships. We asked about your biology, your evolutionary history, your medical needs, and you all told us, because you did not think primitive humans could possibly be a threat. The realization swept through the chamber like a cold wind. Humans had been planning this from the beginning. While everyone was laughing at their crude ships and outdated weapons, humans were gathering intelligence, learning, preparing. Achillic ambassador, the same one who had given Sarah the laser pointer as a joke, spoke up. Its voice lacked all humor now. You were planning to attack us from the moment you arrived? No, Sarah said firmly. We were planning to defend ourselves from the moment we learned the Empire would demand our surrender. There is a difference. Earth does not want to conquer anyone. We do not want to rule other species. We just want to be left alone. She pulled up new data, but we also knew that the Empire would not accept a simple no. We studied your history. Every species that refused was conquered. So we needed to make conquest so expensive, so risky, so potentially devastating that the Empire would choose peace instead. Emperor Vortex studied her carefully. You created mutually assured destruction. Exactly, Your Majesty. It is a concept humans know very well. During our Cold War, 2 of our nations built enough nuclear weapons to destroy our entire planet. They pointed these weapons at each other for decades. And you know what happened? Nothing. No one fired. Because both sides knew that attacking meant dying. Fear kept the peace. The whisper's voice carried a note of understanding. You do not actually want to use these weapons. We desperately do not want to use them, Sarah agreed. These machines, these weapons we have created, they terrify us just as much as they terrify you. We know what they can do. We know that once released, they might be impossible to control. We know that they could potentially threaten all life, including our own. She looked around the chamber, but we also know that appearing weak gets you conquered. So we made ourselves look dangerous. Dangerous enough that leaving us alone became the smart choice. A small delegate from a species that looked like a floating jellyfish spoke up nervously. But if the weapons are so dangerous, what if you lose control? What if they spread beyond your control? That is a valid concern, Sarah acknowledged. That is why we are proposing something different. Earth wants to join the Galactic Council not as a subject, but as a partner. We want to share some of our technology, particularly our medical and biological sciences, in exchange for your advanced technology in other areas. She brought up new displays. For example, humans have extensive knowledge about fighting diseases, about genetic medicine, about biological systems. Many species in this chamber have illnesses we might be able to help treat. Meanwhile, you have technology that could help Earth solve problems like clean energy, faster-than-light travel, and climate control. War Marshal Shard's voice was bitter. You want us to reward you for threatening us? I want us to cooperate instead of fighting, Sarah corrected. The Empire is powerful. Earth is clever. Together, we could accomplish far more than we could fighting each other, and separately we would only destroy each other. Emperor Vortex stood, his massive form dominating the chamber. The Empire does not negotiate with terrorists. Then do not negotiate with us, Sarah said calmly. Negotiate with the reality of the situation. You have 10,000 warships. We have weapons that made 50 of those ships retreat in fear. You can destroy our planet from orbit. We can infect your entire fleet with machines you cannot stop. You can kill every human. We can release plagues that might not stop at Imperial borders. She spread her hands. Or we can choose to coexist. We can establish borders. We can trade. We can learn from each other. We can be neighbors instead of enemies. The whisper floated between them. The council must vote on this matter. But first I wish to say something. Everyone turned to face the ancient being. The whisper had been alive for longer than most species had been spacefaring. Their words carried wisdom earned over centuries. We laughed at humanity, the whisper said. We laughed because they appeared weak. Because their ships were small. Because their weapons were primitive. We measured them by our standards, by what we value. Big ships, powerful shields, advanced weapons. The whisper's form pulsed with emotion. But we forgot the most important question. We forgot to ask not what weapons a species has, but how they think about warfare, how they approach problems, how they survive. They gestured toward Sarah. Humans are not the strongest species. They are not the smartest. They are not the most advanced. But they are survivors. They come from a world that tried to kill them constantly. They evolved in an environment where being strong was not enough, where being smart was not enough, where you had to be adaptable, creative, and willing to do whatever it took to live one more day. The whisper turned to face the entire council. These humans spent their evolutionary history as persistence hunters. They did not kill prey with strength. They chased it until it collapsed from exhaustion. They did not attack where enemies were strong. They found weaknesses and exploited them. They learned patience. They learned strategy. They learned that sometimes the best weapon is not the one that looks impressive, but the one your enemy never sees coming. The chamber was silent. The whisper continued. And now they have brought that same mentality to galactic warfare. While we built bigger ships, they built smaller weapons. While we focused on the visible, they mastered the invisible. While we thought conventionally, they thought creatively. The ancient being floated directly in front of Emperor Vortex. Your Majesty, the Empire has a choice. You can try to conquer Earth and risk everything. Or you can accept them as equals and gain allies who think differently than any species you have ever encountered. Allies who might see solutions you have missed. Enemies who might create problems you cannot solve. Emperor Vortex was quiet for a long time. Finally he spoke. The Empire will agree to a peace treaty. Earth will be recognized as a sovereign world. We will establish trade relations and diplomatic exchanges. But there will be conditions. Name them, Sarah said. First, Earth will share the antidote to these nanomachines. We will not live in fear of invisible weapons we cannot counter. Sarah nodded. Agreed. We will provide complete information on how to detect, neutralize, and defend against all versions of the machines we deployed.